episode or your 10th episode, I love to scan the world. You heard me, the world, cities and states for amazing Black women who are using their voice in every aspect of their business or their career, or using their voice to amplify and highlight the voices of other either women in business or women who are speakers. And today I have the awesome pleasure and opportunity to really introduce to some and remind to others the infamous Shelly Bell. Now, some of you are like, yes, Shelly. And some of you are like, I don't think I know her yet. This is why you're here at the Speak Black Women podcast, because I want to make sure that you know some of the women who are moving and shaking, especially when it comes to Black women who are doing their thing. If this is your very first episode, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. But if you've been rocking and rolling with me, you are officially family. Now, before we bring on our special guest, I think it's important not just to tell you about who I am and what this podcast is all about. I also think it's important for me to show you. So after this quick video, we are going to go ahead and bring on our very special guest, Miss Shelly Bell. So stay tuned. All right. So again, that is a little bit about me and the movement of the Speak Black Woman podcast. And if you love this, make sure you write us a review anywhere you listen at your leisure to your podcast, always on YouTube as well. And if you want more information about some of the upcoming episodes, the guests, Speak Black Woman merchandise, or even to purchase the Speak Black Woman book, go to speakblackwoman.com. But without further ado, I am going to bring on our very special guest, Miss Shelly Bell. Now, couple of things that you need to know about Shelly is not only is she a disruptor, I mean, that is her middle name. She comes in and she wants to shake some things up, okay? I'm gonna keep it PG-13. What I really wanted to say, she wants to shake some shit up, right? But at the end of the day, I know all kinds of people are listening and watching. She has blazed new ways of thinking across educational, political, financial systems and scaled over not 50, not 75, but 100 businesses across various sectors. She's worked as a K-12 educator. She's a patent examiner. She's a spoken word artist. She has been a computer scientist and a nonprofit executive. In addition to that, she has created the actual first TP for women on Airbnb. We're going to hear all about that, as well as she launched a business as a single mom of 3 and built a tech platform for equitable financial, different types of things. She has also practices the mantra of really resist being average. She has fully stepped into her greatness. In addition to that, she is also the founder, the creative director behind Black Girl Ventures, when she wants to provide access to capital to Black and brown women who have amazing businesses, but they need some financial capital to grow and expand. Not only is she a part of so many amazing things, she is a speaker, she is an entrepreneur, as well as she has been featured in some of the biggest magazine ever, Forbes, Fast Company, Yahoo Finance, Inc. magazine, literally the Washington Business Journal, and more importantly, she even has an opportunity to stop by the Speak Black Women podcast, because I know that she has her own podcast called A Dose of Disruption. But right now, she's on the Speak Black Women podcast, and we're so excited to have her. So Miss Shelly Bell, welcome, welcome, welcome. Unmute yourself and welcome again to the Speak Black Women podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. What's up, everybody? Glad to be here, Quinn. Always love you, love your work, love your energy. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said yes. I know that you are super busy, and I want to kind of jump right in because I know a lot of Black women in business who are doing their thing, but I feel like you have embodied and really understood and really redefined what it means to be a disruptor. Out of all the things, why do you embrace and really embody being a disruptor in this industry, especially in 2021 when it's needed and necessary, when everybody else wants to blend in? You disrupted all over.
Well, I mean, I think that I probably was born this way. I mean, I guess it's like I've always been the one that's like, I think we could do that different. I think in experimenting with what can be different and finding out that like, oh, this actually can be different and nothing quote unquote bad is going to happen, or like the world's not going to end, or like, and then just being like, oh, okay, well, like that was an experiment. Oh, it can be different. And now here's what I learned from that. And then moving on to figure out what else is true. I mean, I have a coach that always would ask like, okay, that's cool, but like, what else is true? Multiple things can be true. And when you start to visit other things that are true or can be true, you dig into your imagination. And so being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, it's all about imagination. You're not faking it till you make it. You're literally making it up, and kind of playing and dabbling like what it means to imagine yourself different, the world different because of you, and people's lives different because of your product.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. And I'm glad that you embrace that. I think that sometimes when we know that we're different, we're unique, we're especially wired, that everybody might not understand. So we try to assimilate. We try to kind of be and blend in. And I feel like since I've known you, and I don't know if you've always been this way, and I think that maybe you just been okay in your own skin. And I don't see a lot of Black and brown women, to be honest with you, who have embodied who they are. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think I did try to fit in, but I think I was growing up, like everybody wanted to be different. I just wanted to be like everybody else because I was already different. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to kind of break out of that mold or, have a different lifestyle. I want to just be like everybody else because what I thought was cool was like other things that other people were doing that weren't my everyday reality. And so I think that I did, try to like, and then, growing up in the Pentecostal church, I also tried to like stay in line with that, and then started experimenting with like, oh, like, well, God is still here for me when I'm not doing exactly these things that they said I had to do. So I think, I think there are times when I definitely try to press myself into the mold. I mean, even with a dose of disruption, I really wanted to start the Shelly Bell Show. And I didn't because people told me, podcast experts and consultants, they were like, don't name it after yourself because nobody knows who you are yet. Like, don't name it after yourself. Just name it something that listeners, will gravitate to because nobody knows who you are. And, I was like, okay. And so I named it a Dose of Disruption, which is great. And I like it. But now I'm about to launch the Shelly Bell Show. So September the 12th, I'll be launching the Shelly Bell Show on Sirius XM. So what I'll say is like, people don't often have the insight or intuitive hits around like who you're going to be. They're basically giving you advice off of who you are now because they're not thinking about your future, and they're not thinking about your future in a malicious way. That's just not their role, right? Like that podcast expert was to make my podcast. Their role was to make my podcast successful based on where I am right now. They didn't know that, 2-3 months later, I was going to be on a Nike billboard or in a Nike commercial or working with the NBA, or like they didn't know any of that. I knew that I wasn't about to stay at the place that I was. I knew that I'm focused on my trajectory, continuing to rise. They didn't know that, right? And so you got to sometimes check in with yourself about like listening to advice and then saying, okay, they're giving me this based off of what they know, the world that they know, and I'm coming. And I'm going to keep moving forward. So I got to put that together to say, what risk do I want to take on knowing who I'm focused on being versus what they know about who I am now?
Yeah, though, that's good stuff. And I think a lot of times we don't trust our gut. We don't trust our intuition. And you're right. It's not their job. And I don't think they are malicious. It's just like we know the assignment inside of us. We know where we're going. And then I'm sure there's a lot of projects that you have privileged information to, but they don't know yet. Right. So I'm glad that that's coming out. Definitely let me know, where on Sirius XM so I can tune into that. Because I definitely, I'm the unofficial president of the Shelly Bell Fan Club. You know what I mean? I'm just letting you know that I'll be tuning in. So that's awesome. So I know that you have done a lot, right? And a lot of people who are familiar with your work know a lot about Black Girl Ventures. And that's kind of where you are now. And I know you have some plans for that. But Shelly Bell, the entrepreneur, had business ventures before you got to Black Girl Ventures. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And the reason why I do is because sometimes we start these businesses and we think we got to marry them. we start these businesses and we think that we got to do this for the rest of our lives. And it really could be an entrepreneurial venture that leads you to your next entrepreneurial venture. And that is okay. So talk about Shelly Bell in the beginning and some of the business ventures. I know you had a t-shirt business. I'm not going to give it all because I want you to say, but let's talk about some of the early business ventures that you started.
Yeah, I think that here's the thing. I was not married to any of those businesses because I needed to make money. And so what I was married to was getting to a business model. What I was committed to, I was married to the model, not the business, because I knew that I needed to find a model that made money. And if that model wasn't making money, then there was nothing to be married to. Okay, that was just me being married to an idea, an illusion, a fantasy. Like that wasn't me being married to a business or in a way that I was actually being successful. And like you gotta know what your marks of success are for you. I mean, for me, it was, feeding my kids. And so if feeding my kids is depending on whether or not this model works, then and I'm being married to a model that is not working, and not working meaning like it's not producing revenue, and I don't see any immediate in the next 3 months in producing revenue, then that wouldn't work for me. Now there are some companies who, like when you build a tech platform, sometimes you take a while to build that tech platform out and to figure out like what works, model, that kind of thing. Facebook wasn't immediately making money when they put it out, but it had such a large attraction to it that they knew they could make money eventually. So when I say like it is not necessarily tangible dollars immediately, but it is like when I think about this, is there something that I'm going to be able to do over the next 3 months that's going to like push this into making money in the way that I need to make money for my life? If not, I'm not abandoning it or giving it up. It's just going to have to be over here in this bucket of things I did at one point, and I'll go back and pick it up later. So I got laid off twice, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going back to work for anyone. I'm going to start a business. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just breaking up with my fiance, coming out of that relationship. And, in hindsight, maybe I was in fight or flight mode because I just started doing stuff. I threw all the furniture out of my living room. I repainted it. I started building my own furniture out of pallets, and just thinking, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do to make money? And I was working on a poetry festival. I was a co-organizer. And our hotel block closed early. And so I said, hey, I got this empty living room. I should just put some tents up in my living room and see if some poets would sleep in it. And I didn't get them up in time for the event, but I kept looking at it. I was like, oh, this is cool. So I put this tent together. I staged it, so it looks amazing. Put it up on Airbnb. And really, I only wanted it for women because what I realized that if you're a single parent and you don't have an extra room, or in general, if you're not even a single parent, you don't have an extra room, you can't make money off of Airbnb. So that can't be a revenue source for you. And I'm like, okay. Then my other thought was, well, how can this be a safe space for women? Because if you're traveling as a single person, could this be a place that could be safe for you? And I learned through that experience what a definition of safe space is, which is, if we all walk into a building and it's structurally sound, and technically it's a safe space, quote unquote. But if we are, if there's unsafe people, then the space becomes unsafe, right? So there's a lot of different pieces that I had to figure out. But so many people want to sleep in the tent. I let one woman come and stay, and I quickly found out that I didn't want anybody sleeping in my living room. So I started thinking of other things I could do. Landed on the print shop and the t-shirt line, and launched them simultaneously. They started working. My mom was my first investor. She gave me her retirement money to start this business. And then I took my tax returns and actually launched the print shop. So I used my tax return to buy my own machines. My mom gave me money to get the first batch of t-shirts that we ended up selling and to do the first event. So we vended up and down the East Coast with Made by a Black Woman shirts. And then I started doing small print orders for like influencers, and then eventually rolled into doing festivals, which eventually rolled me into doing orders for Amazon and then Google. And through my building relationships at Google, landed a community engagement contract where I was helping people understand marketing, understand how to use Google tools to grow their business. And as I was doing that, I was also building Black Girl Ventures. And so when the news came out that Black and brown women are not getting access to capital, starting business at 6 times the national average, yet receiving less than 1% of venture capital. And entrepreneurship is lonely. And so I was head down trying to build those businesses, and they worked. And, we landed in Essence magazine. Like, it was working. But I also realized that I need community to thrive. Like, I'm better when I have people around me who are rocking and rolling with me. And so launching Black Girl Ventures was twofold. It was the access to capital piece, and it was the access to community piece. The capacity part of what we do, because we say 3 C's: capital, capacity, community. The capacity part came from teaching and sharing knowledge, like knowledge sharing based off of what everyone had accomplished in their business to help people push forward. So that was 2016 into 2017. We tested the model. 2018, landed a partnership with Google and started traveling the country. 2019, landed our first 6-figure grant, and then started from 2019 actually kind of franchising out into cities, like creating these different communities of people that were working with us. And now here we are. We're across 12 cities. We're the largest entrepreneur support organization on the East Coast. We have funded about 264 women. By the end of this year, we would have funded over 300 women. And it's been amazing. Quinn, definitely appreciate you. It was like early believer is what I call it. I think it was 2017 or 2018 when you came and pitched with us for the first time. And I was still figuring it out, to be honest, at that time.
That's all right. And you said it so good. And I think that people always talk about what we need as entrepreneurs and women. We talk about access to capital. That is true. We need, resources. That is true. But what you mentioned, which is so aligned, is we need community and we need sisterhood, right? It could be someone, we can have all this, but if you're afraid to go to Google and ask for 6 figures, you're never going to get it unless you have a community, either on your inbox, either in your text messages, hyping you like, girl, you better ask for X, Y, and Z. So I love that. I remember we were at Visa together, and I remember having a conversation with your son, and he was just telling me how he's so proud of you. And in the beginning, he didn't really understand everything. It was like, mommy's working, right? That's all he understood. What I know that there's a lot of women out there who are trying to build their business and then raise their family. And sometimes the kids don't understand that mommy is working so you can eat. Mommy is working so these lights can be paid. Mommy is working for this. What do you say to those women who are looking at you like, I mean, that's great, but I got 2 kids. That's great, but I got 3 kids. You're like, and I got 3 kids too, right? So what would you say to that woman out there who's listening, who's just like, oh my gosh, Shelly's doing amazing things, but I can't do that because I'm a mom, or I'm having trouble balancing. I feel like I'm making the money, but the kids hate me, right? Or, what kind of insight would you give? Because I know it's a lot of things that I feel like women entrepreneurs struggle with way more than men.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a challenge around patriarchy, right? I would say first things first is just accept. I've been a mom since I was 17. So I don't remember much of life before having kids. So kids are a part of my life, period. Whether I was going to school, whether I was going to work, whether I was it didn't matter that what I was doing. They were always a part of my life. And I knew that in order for them to be the best that they can be, I had to be the best that I can be. And that meant, for me personally, it meant pushing. When I used to do poetry, I used to take them with me, have them on stage, introducing people. They would be performing. Now both of them are creatives and perform in different ways. My son is in theater, and my middle son's in theater. My oldest son, the one that you interviewed, he's in theater. My oldest son is also an artist and a creative. So I think one of the things that I learned is I got a little weary of that too. Am I moving too much? What's happening? And then somebody reminded me of military kids, kids that are military, have military families. They move a lot. They move, and they know that moving is a part of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make it a part of what your family does, then it's less ooh, we doing some extra. We doing something we not supposed to do. Your energy would dictate that. Your energy would dictate, oh, well, we're not being perfect. So something's wrong. If you make it hey, this is how we are. I don't know how those other families operate. And that's always something I would level set for my kids. I don't know how, how when you're in trouble, then your mom would say things like, I don't know about, I'm not your friend's mom.
Right.
I don't know what they do over there, using that same thing in running business, because kids love to see successful parents. Their parents thriving, their parents moving, their parents pushing against obstacles makes them want to push against the obstacles too that may be facing them on their kid level of obstacle. So I think sometimes we just take for granted, like there again, when we're feeling that overwhelmed piece, sometimes it's real. I'm not saying it's not real, but a lot of it is like structural patriarchy and like male dominance pressing on what it means to be a woman, which means you need to stop doing that because you need to focus on these kids. You need to stop worrying about this over here because these kids need you over here. You get to determine that balance, and you get to own your space, puff your chest out a little bit and be like, okay, kids, come on, sit in the audience, come on, take this image, get on TikTok with me. Like, we did a lot together. Like they were being photographers because I couldn't afford a photographer. They were answer emails at some time, and not in a child labor way, but I mean, like, I'm just driving and we're going to our destination. I'm like, hey, can you tell this person this kind of thing? So I think get the kids involved, help them see what it means to be a business owner, help them understand versus like kids over here, business over here, efforts over here, like, making sure that you're being inclusive in your household and letting people know, like, no, this is what mom does. Just like mom takes baths on Fridays, or mom cooks dinner at 6, or mom goes to bed at 8, or mom watches this TV show. It should also be mom is a business owner. Mom has to fly out sometime for work. Mom has to go and speak. Oh, my mom's on TV. Oh, my mom, like, it's something to get them engaged in, not necessarily separated from. And that's how you create a balance, because then you can start saying like, oh, this is all in together. Yeah. And I'm just going to allot time for it the same way you would be if you're working a 9 to 5.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think inclusion is that what you need to do. Not like this is what I do over here, but letting them know, like my kids, like mommy speaks to the peoples with an S. Like that's what they think I do. I speak to the peoples because I show them my microphone. They are down here sometimes. At one point I used to be like, now sit on my lap. Like it is what it is. Like I'm a mom. And I think part of the blessing of COVID is we have seen more people in like their real habitat as a mom. Like I'm not just doing this, but other things as well. Now, I want to talk about, because you've done a lot of great things that I think that, I've admired. And I know that people who've been following you, I mean, partnerships and, opportunities with like Nike, Visa, NBA. Was there ever a time where you were like, oh my God, this is moving too fast? Is this really, really happening? Did you ever have that moment? Or was it more or less like, I work for this, I'm stepping into this next level? Because sometimes it's almost like we begin to kind of self-sabotage when things start going so well for us. And again, I don't know all the details, but from the outside looking in, it's like, yo, this is Shelly's winning season. I'm here for it. Where are the pom-poms? I'm cheering on the sideline. But was there ever a time that you got a little bit nervous, like this is what I wanted, but am I worthy? Do I deserve it? Or did you step into it like a boss, like, yes, all of it, I'm taking it. I'm ready. I'm here. This is what I work for.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that like I have a long-standing, like when I say long-standing, I mean, it's not a regular thought for me. Like it's not if anything, I'm thinking things are moving too slow. I'm like, where's everybody at? Come on. Because, and I tell women all the time, you actually have a lot of expertise that you brought to the thing you're doing right now. So what you're doing right now is not, the end all be all of who you have been or who you're becoming, because you brought all of this expertise to this moment. So I don't necessarily have imposter syndrome in that way. I will say there are moments when I'm interacting with certain people that I'm like, ooh, wait, should I be? So for example, with the Nike engagement, I did a few things with them. So we did the pitch competition for BGV, but we also did like a lot of engagements that were centered around like me speaking in different places. And so I was on a round table with WNBA players. You got champion, like women who have literally won championships through their physical body and, efforts in playing in a game. And I was sitting there like, I'm like a social justice person. So like I don't even play. I sucked at sports growing up. But Nike believes that if you have a body, you're an athlete. And even before the Nike engagement, I used to say, I'm an elite athlete in business. And I would do that. And this goes back to what you were just asking me about being a parent. I started using that language to help my family understand how hard I was going. Because you don't caution LeBron James. You don't caution Serena Williams. You protect them. You give them a doctor for every muscle. You give them a chef. You give them whatever they need to perform at their peak. And so I started saying to my family, you got to start thinking of me that way, that like I am an elite athlete. And in order for me to reach my peak performance in this game, I need you to operate in these ways. So I was saying that even before I started working with Nike. And so, but as I'm sitting there around these real life elite athletes in sports, I'm like, what am I supposed to? I know, like, I felt like, I'm like, dang, are they looking at me like, why is she here? They were not, by the way. There's the WNBA women I've met have been the most amazing, gracious, down to earth, amazing hearted people you will ever meet. And not that I expected anything less, but I just never met them before, so you don't know, like they're big names. They are, so you don't know if they're going to be kind. Like I've been in lots of different situations, and you don't know if just because they're a celebrity means that they're kind. Doesn't always mean that. So I was sitting there like, I wonder if they're like, why am I here? But then as soon as I open my mouth and talk about what I'm talking about, they know exactly why I'm here. So it has become a rhythm. This is a muscle. When you working out, you work that muscle, and then it builds, and now you're stronger. And so I would say that, like, if people are having imposter syndrome or reaching places where they're like, am I supposed to be here? Just know that you worked out to build that muscle, and now you are stronger. Now, what I will say very openly and vulnerably is like, I'm about to blow past where I've been before. Now, let me explain. Prior to Black Girl Ventures, when I was doing poetry, I was popping. Locally, I was hosting shows. I was working on like big efforts, like Adams Morgan Day, which is like a big festival here. I was sitting, in council meetings, and I was working with I worked with the Northern Virginia Fine Arts Association. I worked with the Smithsonian. Like I had already been a part of some pretty big deals, and I created things. I created writing engagements for women. I created writing, I hosted like an open mic for like LGBTQ community. So it's like, I've been doing things, but I spent all that time. And at the end of it, I was burnt out, but well known. So when Black Girl Ventures started taking off, I said, I don't want to be burnt out and well known. I want to see myself where I am. Because when I was running, doing poetry, I was popping, but I didn't see myself. So this time I've been taking time to be like, I'm freaking killing it right now. Like I'm taking time to be like, there's nobody that I know of that can get these 3 global brands on a call and be like, listen, I need y'all to come together for what I'm trying to do. And they be like, okay, well, let us know what's next. Like that. So I'm celebrating. And I celebrate that with my community. And so I'm always trying to bring back as much knowledge as I know to help people navigate, because that's what I learned. I learned how to navigate these rooms, how to think about talking to these people, how to get what you want by sitting at the intersection of what expands you and the partner.
We need like 5 hours. I know we don't have that much time, but I look at the time like, dang, we're already 30 minutes. Like it's going so good. I want to ask you this last question, and then I want you to let people know if they're interested in connecting with you, how they can do that. One of the things that I love about what you're doing is you really are operating in a tribe. I mean, there's phone calls that you made to me that I'm forever grateful for, that I was able to, not only be a Black Girl Ventures alumni, but do some of the things that I love to grow my skill set. And when you talk to people, because I know that you said that you're on track to actually fund over 300 women. That's just the funding. But some of the doors that you've opened up to other people that are in your network, how does Shelly feel when somebody comes back to you, says, you know what? If I didn't get that grant from Black Girl Ventures, my business couldn't have did this. Or Shelly, I appreciate you for allowing me to do this, because everybody sees that, but there's something internal that you get gratification when you are really fulfilling and making other people's business dreams come true. How does that feel when you do that for other people?
I mean, I have so much gratitude. It honestly just feels like complete purpose. And I know that is like cliche and, but I mean, like, literally, I am doing exactly what I came here to do. Like, I am in complete lock and step with my ancestors. I am fulfilling my destiny. Like, this is what I came here to do. This is why I am alive. So I'll take it a step away from purpose. Like, this is why I am alive. And so I would say, like, when I think about the families, like, I don't even think about the person. I'm like, not I don't think about the person, I do, but I'm just saying, like, I think about, like, wow, like, because of this thing, I literally made this up. I made this up. It was like, hey, I think I can do this thing. Let's do it. And then it worked. And to think about the families that we're able to impact, and, and because what people should know is that, like, as a mom, the grind part of what you're doing can be temporary. Like, don't subscribe to, like, Team No Sleep, Hustle Forever, like that. The hustle shifts. Okay. The hustle you on now might not take you to the next level. It might keep you at the level you're at. So you have to think about what it means to fill yourself up. So when I hear those stories, I feel an immense amount of pride, gratitude. I'm always going to throw it back. Like, thank you. Like, thank you for letting us be a part of your journey. Thank you for believing, because you could have been like, ain't nobody thinking about, well, I don't know what they're doing over there. I ain't got no time for that. Like, thank you for believing, in what I came up with, such that we're able to help you, because the trust with my community is everything. I'll tell a partner quick. I don't care about your processes. If you compromise, I will give you your money back. If you compromise the trust with my community, that's all I got. Like, right. So, word is bond for us. And I take that very, very seriously. So when we're able to activate on our promises, which is like getting people access to capital, community, and capacity, I feel like we are on track and we're doing what we're doing. It's a celebration. We're doing what we're supposed to do in the world, and it's a celebration. And I have so much gratitude for that founder allowing us to be a part of their journey, because the founder is going to move on and do other things. We'll always get to say we were a part of that founder's journey, So the stories mean everything to me. I feel excited. It gives me fuel to keep going. I feel, thankful that I can be there. Like, it's just a good, like, if you winning, I'm winning feeling.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So we're coming to an end. Shelly, I know people right now, when they go on and watch this, they're going like, oh my gosh, where has she been? So if you are a Black or brown woman and you want access to capital, or you need a community, you're starting a business and at one point you might need money to grow or expand, I can tell you that I have completely loved this business model, because when I started my business, I didn't feel comfortable or confident going into a bank and asking for a loan or a line of credit. And I have literally funded my business through business pitch competitions. That is the way. Blood, sweat, tears, and business pitch competitions is how I funded my first business, Purse Paparazzi. So Shelly, if people want to know more about you or more about how they can get involved with Black Girl Ventures, where can they go?
They can go to IamShellyBell.com, IamShelly, B as in boy, ELL.com. And I am Shelly Bell everywhere. So IamShellyBell.com, I am Shelly Bell on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And then for Black Girl Ventures, go to blackgirlventures.org, and you can follow on Instagram at Black Girl Ventures, or on Twitter at BGirlVentures.
Love it. Well, Shelly, hang out for just 1 second. I'm going to close out and come right back to you. Again, I am Shelly Bell across all across all social media platforms. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Speak Black Women podcast. You dropped so much information and knowledge that I know that the women who are watching and listening, if they implement, it can really take their business to where it is, to where they want it to go. So thank you again. Hang out for a second. I'm going to close us on out. Listen, y'all, I don't know about you, but I got real notes. Like, y'all think I'll be playing? I'll be taking notes when I be listening to people. I am just so grateful that Shelly has some time to spend with us today. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and follow her on I Am Shelly Bell across all social media platforms. She has an awesome and amazing story of tenacity, of authenticity, but also she is making it possible for people like me and people like you to get funded. So if you think in the future you might need funding for your business, or you currently need funding right now, because guess what, y'all? Only 2% of women get the funding that they need to start or expand their business. Of that 2%, 0.6% goes to Black women. What does that mean? We are starting businesses faster than any other ethnicity, but we are also lacking access to capital, and we are failing the fastest. So if money is something that you need for your business, connect with Black Girl Ventures. That way you can learn about some of the resources that are out there. But as always, my name is Quinn Conyers, and I super appreciate you joining me for another episode of the Speak Black Women podcast. If you haven't already done so, download this app so you know that we will actually be able to connect, and you can also connect with other Black women doing awesome and amazing things. If you want access to the new book, Speak Black Women, How Women in Business Can Profit from Public Speaking, or if you want some incredible merch, Speak Black Women merch, go to speakblackwoman.com and you can get everything you need to know about the Speak Black Women podcast and the movement. Until next time, thank you so much again for joining me for the Speak Black Women podcast. I'll see you next week.